Last thing we need to code here, and I apologize, the last two videos, I think I had my web browser not all the way on the screen. Hopefully that you can see all of it now. The last thing we have for the menu is to style the actual menu that we're going to see all the time. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Good. Let me bring the code in for that. There it is. Now we go back to our HTML and we see that this one has an ID of nav. And all that we have in there is a unordered list with, our list items and hyperlinks inside of them. So we go back out, we see that pound nav the height is going to be 50 pixels, width is 730, and that's a static width. So I want to make sure this is going to be wide enough to handle it. Hopefully you can see the whole thing. Margin is going to be auto again. So again, we're going to keep it in the center of the screen. Display is going to be block. That just displays it on the screen. Again, border radius doesn't seem to be working with this browser, but it's fine the way it is. Font size is 20 pixels. I'm getting rid of the font change. It's going to be inherent from the main page. Again, we have this code for our gradient. We'll leave it like it is. We got that straight out of the code generator. And our box shadow. You can probably just copy these from earlier in your code. And then we're going into the unordered list and then going into nav, or the list items. So you can go inside of things. We're starting here, calling the ID, then we're going inside and we're calling the UL, then we're going inside and calling the LI. That's how that works. And then we're going to say display that inline block. So you see how now it's displayed blocked. They're blocked on top of each other. But I want to reorganize them so it says home, about us, laboratory, and across the screen in that fashion. Taking the text decoration and giving it nothing, or inherent. There's not going to be any, bullets there. Width is going to be 150 pixels for each line. So in other words, this one's going to be 150 pixels wide. Same with all of them. 110 pixels wide. And the margin on top is going to be 15 pixels. And then I'm going to give it a text align of center inside of that 110 pixels. Now we have nav link. And here's the beauty of class. We have the first 5 of these with a class of nav link. So if you look here, I coded all of this for all of the list items. So all 6 of them get this code. Then I'm going to change one thing for the 5 that come first. And what it's going to be is the border right is going to have a solid line on the right of it. Now you can imagine if these are laid out, home, line, about us, line, and so on, all the way over till we get to contact us. We don't want a line over there because that would look crazy. So we just want lines between each one of them, and that's how we accomplish it with giving the first 5 of them a class of navlink and not the last one. I hope that makes sense. And then we go all the way into the hyperlink, and we're giving it a text decoration of inherent. In other words, I don't want them to be, see, they might be underlined. I can't remember if they're underlined or not, but see the white and color, and then given this transition property font weight, and I will explain that later. I don't think I actually went anywhere with that. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. We're calling a transition property. This is remember before we did a transition, but this is a transition property. So in other words, by default, when the page loads, each one of these elements, the hyperlink elements that are inside of the nav, will have a property in there that it's waiting for something to happen. And when that thing happens, the font weight then is going to be changed. And so whenever we come down here to hover, when I hover over it, I'm going to change the font weight to bold. When I let go of it, it's going to change back to what it normally was. You'll see in a moment. So we refresh this, and there it is. And you see how the font weight is normal until I hover over it and it gets bold. So that's a way to do that. And you can do all kinds of things. You can do other things. You can give it a box shadow if you want here. And then change that down here. Whatever, you can raise it up 5 pixels, and so you go and it raises up 5 pixels or whatever. So you can do a lot of neat things with hovering and transition properties. Alright, so that's our main menu bar. And now remember, it has a static width of 730, I think. Okay, 730 pixels. So when I get smaller, you see how it doesn't follow the screen. But as long as the screen is wider than it will stay in the center. Alright, so that's how to style the menu bar. The next thing is this slideshow, and I'll show you how to do that next video.